Hey everybody, how you doing, Kristina?
I'm good. How are you?
So yes, we are here for Lightroom Classic game-changing AI updates. Let me just
We
pull up,
sure are.
you know,
I got all my
graphic.
notes.
Sweet. So this is a wide variety of Kristina's work as well in the background, just so you know, of course. But beyond Lightroom, that's a lot of Photoshop going on there too. So
That's true. Yeah. So, but today we are going to be focusing on Lightroom Classic and the AI advancements. I'm pretty sure these are going to be rolling out to Lightroom on desktop and mobile pretty soon, but we're going to stick with Classic today. And I just did want to mention that I'm going to be starting this presentation. I am in version 14.1.1. So if I go to Lightroom Classic, we go to About, you can see that that we are in version 14.1.1.
sure, I saw that. Yeah.
And I'm not sure, does this zoom in when I do it?
No.
Okay. All right. Just the box around it then. All right. Well, that's what that is. And what we're going to talk about today is some of the new Lightroom advancements when it comes to AI and what they have integrated into this program for us so that we can start really cooking with gas when it comes to our editing and making things a lot faster. One of the things that I really love about the new advancements is that they're integrating AI into all of these tools, making it easier and easier for us to do really advanced things in Lightroom that we would have to have gone to Photoshop for before. So I'm going to just kind of run through, we're going to do an overview of 3 of those top areas. And whenever, Andrew, you're ready, should we just say hi to anybody, or is everybody here? Oh, hi.
Yeah, people are coming in and stuff.
Oh.
Christian says, hello, everyone. Happy New Year from Mexico. Happy New Year.
Nice. Okay. So, oh, hi, Stephen.
Yeah. He says, Stephen says, I was fortunate enough to take one of Kristina's classes on retouching in person on a ranch near Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah. We were just talking about the Photo Creators Conference, weren't we?
Cool.
Okay, so the first thing that I want to just kind of point to is the AI that's been integrated into our masking panel within Lightroom. And where we can find that is in this little icon right up here. Let me just quickly turn on something that I forgot to turn on because Andrew and I got busy chatting. I'm going to turn on mouse pose, and that is going to allow me to kind of just spotlight some of these little areas here. Can we see that?
Yeah, it's like highlighted with dark around.
Okay, perfect. So within our masking panel right here, we've got some new AI things. One is selecting our subject. We can easily and effortlessly just create one click, and that's going to create a mask over our subject. Now I'm going to just step back. We also have the select sky button. Now that is something as well that's just going to easily select the sky for you with just one click from you. And then select background is basically going to be everything other than the subject is going to be selected in select background. So those 3 are going to be using AI for, for your selection needs. You also have a 4th one that I didn't kind of chat about when we were starting this, but it's going to be select object. So if we come down here and we click on that select object, you have the choice for using a brush or using the rectangular marquee tool to brush over something. And let's see, this is pretty intricate and advanced, but let's see if it'll make a selection for me. So did you see how that made that selection for me? So now I can adjust that. So this is what the object does. I'm going to delete this mask again. select object, and you can see here that we do have the brush mode for selecting an object, or we have the rectangular marquee. So when I clicked on the rectangular marquee, I can go ahead and click and drag a box around that same object, and we get that same mask. So those are the two different ways that we can use AI in select object for creating a really quick and easy mask. Let's see if I can find something else. So let's try select object, and we use the rectangular marquee tool, and I will see if I can just select that tree. There we go. So it does a really, really good job of just selecting whatever the object is that you are trying to adjust in any way. Okay, so those are going to be some of the first AI, what would I call them? Like power, like fuel injectors, if we're talking about a car,
AI
right?
power functions or something.
Yeah, like powerhouse functions. And then we have this section called people. Okay. And when we select people, if we click on, it's going to come up here, and in this area, it's going to give you all of the faces that are in an image. So for this image, we only have one person, but if I find an image, and I don't know if I have one in here that has two faces, let's see if it'll work. All right, so we've got these two faces here. Let's go into our develop module. This is a test. Let's see if it detects both people. Yes. So we can see here we've got person 1 and we have person 2. Okay. So that's all backed by AI. All right. So any people that are in your area are going to show up in this people view. And then it gets even better than that. I'm going to go and I'm going to show you this image just as an example here. We're going to create a new mask. We're going to choose select people. And here is our person 1. So if I click onto that person 1, I have a lot of options down here. We could do a mask of the entire person, the facial skin, the body skin, the eyebrows, the eye sclera, which are the eye whites, the iris and pupil, the lips, the teeth, the hair, and the clothes. Now, I don't know about you, but this is, for me, I know it is a couple iterations old, but this was huge for me.
Pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
It is. To be able to make adjustments by just doing a few clicks. I mean, you're almost like eradicating the needing to use your tablet. And I always joke and I call myself a very lazy masker. And so for this, it's just that much more amazing to be able to have all of those different features at your fingertips. All right, so I want to go back to this image, and let's find our people, click on our person, and I don't know, let's see, let's go to close. Let's go to lips. Let's kind of pop her lip color just a bit. And then what we can do is we can choose to create a mask. But I did just want to point out that if you do more than one thing, if you click more than one option here, you have this little thing that shows up right down here.
Oh,
create
cool.
2 separate masks, or
Is that new? I haven't noticed that one. Yeah.
It's been around for a little while, because they knew that, if you make a body skin mask and an eyebrows mask and a lips mask, you're probably not going to want to make
the same color,
same adjustments to those things, right? So if you do, and you check this, create 3 separate masks or 2 separate masks, it's going to give you those things independent of one another. So that's very helpful. I'm going to undo eyebrows and body skin, because all I want to do is create, a little bit of lip color pop. So we'll create a mask here. And if we look here, you can see that it has created a mask of just her lips.
Nice.
Okay. And what we can do now is we can go ahead and just kind of make those lips a little bit more pink. Maybe we can increase the saturation of just the lips and maybe darken them just a touch to really pop that color out of those lips. And here is our before and our after. So you can see how fast and effortlessly you were able to make adjustments to the image. So that's going to be our masking section. And that's going to be the first of the three pillars as to, you know, how AI is really advancing the way that we work within Lightroom. So do we have any questions about the people masking and that kind of thing? If not, I can move on to the next one, which is a little bit newer, but I just wanted to see if anybody has questions.
Just one question I've had is sometimes I've had problems where if you have an image with two people, sometimes it kind of, I'm not sure how it happened, but they treat it almost like it's one mask instead of two separate masks. Have you ever come across that issue?
Yeah, so and I don't have a really good example of two people in this, two faces. So let's do this one and let's just see how far we get. So if we do this and we come in here, we can go into person one and we can choose the facial skin from person one. And then if we wanted to create the same mask across all of the skin, the facial skins across all of the people, what we would do is then we would add a person here and we would add person two and we would go to continue. And then when we hit facial skin, it's going to get the facial skin from both people. Okay. Now you still have the option for two separate masks down here. So that tells me that if I create a mask that I'm going to have, oh, look, I bet you that was a bug that got fixed, Andrew, because I bet you that was a bug that got fixed, that they were treating two people, the facial skin of two different people, as the same mask, because now
it's distinct.
Yeah, it's two separate masks. So I could come in here, and this isn't a great demo file, but I could, why are they so blurry? I think my lens blur is, no, it's just a bad stock image. If we came in here and we did mask one, we could go ahead and we could use the effects, go into our effects section, and we could bring down the clarity of her skin a little bit more, clarity and texture. We could bring down that texture and clarity on her skin a little bit more than his skin. So for his skin, I wouldn't want to go as far, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Okay, so cool. One thing to note is that when we have your masking here, it's really important. A lot of people get frustrated and say, well, why don't they name the tool that they use? Like if I have mask one, mask two, why doesn't it say hair, teeth, eye whites, lips, body skin, facial skin? Why isn't that the name of the mask? Well, the problem is that you can use so many different tools to create your mask. You can use color variation. You can use tonality variation. You could use some of the AI tools, the selection tools. You can paint with a freehand brush. You can't name the top of the mask the first tool that was used to create that mask. Does that make sense?
Right. Yep.
Because if I go ahead and I add to this mask and I use the brush tool to add to this mask, I'm going to hit the O key. If I wanted to say add something that, let's say the adjustment missed, and I know that I could go in there and hit body skin, but just for demonstration purposes, we have 2 different tools that have been used to make this master mask 1. We started with our facial skin, and then we added the brush tool. And this is our hybrid mask. So we may even want to come in here. There's a little bit of that mask on his nose. So I know I'm digressing and kind of going into a different subject, but we could choose, instead to clean up this mask, what we can do is we can choose the subtract button. And then it says, what tool do you want to use to subtract from this mask? Well, I'm going to ask it to use the brush tool to subtract from this mask. And I want to come in here and I want to make sure that none of his profile is in this mask 1 of her. So now we have 3 different tools, or 3 different things that have happened to create this master mask that we have. So we started with person 1, facial skin, and then we increased and added to this mask using the brush tool. And then we subtracted from this mask using a subtract brush. So we have an add brush and a subtract brush, and then that gets us our master mask. So that's the reason why mask 1 cannot be named person 1 facial skin, because there are thousands of different variations that people can create by using all these different tools and all these different orders and everything. But what you can do, I just want to show you the one thing you can do if you are like dead set on naming your masks and everything like that. You can come in here and double click on the word mask 1, and then you can say bride skin, and you can manually name it yourself.
That's good. Yeah.
So that's the workaround, if you will.
Cool.
Okay. So that was like a little mini lesson on masking. Do we have any questions on masking? Because I know that, it feels like sometimes every time you blink, you turn around and the masking has expanded and there's now new tools or whatnot. So if we have any questions on that, I can answer them, or I can move on to our next little demo.
Let us know. Comments underneath the live.
Okay.
I think they're just taking it in. Yeah. So.
Cool. All right. Sometimes I can go a little too fast. So if anybody wants me to slow down, let me know. All right. The next and very exciting next segment is going to be the remove section, because that has made some major upgrades. And okay, there's my mouse. For some reason, it was moving around. It got lost on me. Okay, so we've got our remove section here, right? So to quickly get into our remove tool, we're just going to hit Q on our keyboard. And you can see here that we now have 3 modes. We've got an eraser, we've got a Band-Aid, and we have a stamp. So we're probably familiar with the stamp, meaning the clone stamp, and the Band-Aid, which is the healing brush, the heal tool. But now we have this new remove tool. It's not called an eraser, but it just looks like an eraser icon right here. And so this comes with a couple different features. And the first and the most important and exciting is this use generative AI checkbox. So again, whenever we are going to be using generative AI for anything, you are going to want to be connected to the internet. So just keep that in mind. Now we also have this detect objects option here. So let me just turn this off really quickly. And then I'm going to activate detect objects, because what I want to show you is that if you, let me see. So what we can do using detect objects is we can come in here, remove tool. And if I just click on one of these things here, it's going to look around the edges and it's going to expand to the item that it thinks you're trying to select. Okay, so that's detect objects. And then once you do your first brush, you get this secondary box that shows up, and that is a box to add or subtract from your selection. Now, I will say that the detect objects only works for your first brush stroke, which is a bit frustrating. So if you had like multiple little things that you wanted to just be able to click once and remove, like if I click here, it's not going to expand to that secondary hay bale, which is frustrating. But I'm going to go ahead and choose and switch over to my subtract option. So you have the option to add or subtract from your initial selection, and that's what this little thing is here. So I'm going to go ahead and add, and I'm going to add that secondary hay bale back there that is also connected to it. And then we're just going to go ahead and hit remove. And we can choose refresh. Now this is with AI off. Okay. So just wanted to kind of show you guys that. So we're getting some kind of wonky different options here.
Question I have is, it doesn't show you like a properties panel like it would in Photoshop, where you have the 3 different options to choose from, right?
That's because so that's because use generative AI is off. So as soon as we turn that on,
hit refresh,
we should be able to get that. So let me just start over, actually.
Sure.
And instead of detect objects, I'm going to turn that off. And then we've got this, and we're going to go around here. And it is important to make sure that you encompass the entire object that you're trying to remove. Okay. And also the shadow.
Right.
Of whatever that object is. And then we can choose remove. And now we are going to be activating the AI. And I've never done this before because I did all my practices on a different image.
Good job.
Thank
you.
There
it is. So variations. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, because we use the AI and activated that, we have an area here that was removed, but we have 3 different variations that we get to choose from when choosing our final product. So we have 1, we have 2, and we have 3.
Nice.
So all of them are good. But let's say we just hated all 3 of them. You would just come back and choose to click generate again. Okay. And then that'll give you 3 new objects. Now, the really nice thing is that this is all non-destructive. So if you find one that you like, but let's say you were unhappy with the original selection shape or anything like that, you can always come back in here and choose this brush tool, and that will take you back to the edit of your painted area that you want. If for example, let's say you wanted to just kind of choke this back a little bit. Maybe you were too sloppy with your initial selection. So we could come in here and we could edit this to kind of clean this up a little bit. Like this grass is fine here. I don't need to change that grass. I don't need to change that grass. Although let's come back here and let's switch to add.
Just that edge.
Yeah. And then subtract, we can include some of these trees. We like those trees, right? This is all stuff that isn't what we're trying to remove in this hypothetical situation. So there we go. I like that better. Now we can choose to remove, and it's going to give us, it'll give us 3 new options. But the nice thing is that it's all non-destructive. So you can come back in here and adjust the initial painted area.
Great.
And then regenerate, using the new area that you want to remove, and that helps create better results sometimes. Okay. Let's go to this image, because this is like one of the areas that I like to use this remove a lot. And then if anybody has questions on this, definitely pop them into the chat. So here we've got a lot going on. This would definitely be something that I would historically would have felt like I needed to bring into Photoshop to fix. But we have this new remove tool, and we can just click the use generative AI button, and then we can come in here. I'm using my bracket keys to make my brush smaller and larger. And as you can see, we have a corresponding bar over here for the size of our brush. So we can move that around. So I can come in here and I can make one area over that, and then you can come in here. And the tricky thing about using this AI is that you really want to make sure that you encompass everything that you are trying to remove. Okay. So wherever I see something, I want to make sure it's completely covered in red. I don't want to leave any area where there could be little flyaways going left or right, or that kind of thing. Then I want to come in here and I want to come over this shoulder, and I want to try and see if I can, let's say that this woman is saying, you know, in a couple of months, I have plans to get this tattoo removed. So, you know, are you able to get rid of it in Photoshop? Well, this, you know, before this version of, I know there's more tattoo back here, but I think you guys are with me when it comes to the hypothetical. You know, this would have absolutely been a job for Photoshop. Okay. So we're going to just go ahead and hit remove, and it's going to look through, it's going to go through our using generative AI, and it's going to go over these areas. And you can see here that we have a couple different options here. Okay. So this not super happy with that, but it did get rid of this. It did get rid of those streaks. And the hair is actually looking much better as well. So what I wanted to just point out is that we have multiple generative removes that we've just done at the exact same time. So that means that each one of these removes has 3 different variations, but they're different, right? So how do we access those 3? Well, you click on the little icon, that little remove icon, and then you can cycle through the different choices to remove or regenerate if you so choose. Now you can come down here, or we can do this one up here. Let's click on that one. Version 1, version 2, variation 1, 2, or 3. Okay. And then on top of that, we can come in here and let's say we're happy with those. Let's see if we can get this windswept look to improve just a bit. All right, so let's go ahead and hit remove. Okay.
Clear. I thought it might screw up the eye or something, you know, right. That hair that went across it, but looks pretty clean, right?
Yeah. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Remember that if there's ever a situation where you want to go back and edit the placement of the brush, you can also do that. Or if you're happy with it, we can just kind of continue on removing these things from our shot as well. But as you can see, like really significant advancements that most people would have not ever thought was possible without going into Photoshop. You know, so this is what's really super exciting for me.
Nice.
So here we go. So let's do this one. 1, 2, and 3. That looks good. This one, 1, 2, and 3. I like that one. And then back here, it took us a second time, but we were able to get rid of that additional spot of the tattoo. So that's our, don't worry about the big white spot up in the upper right corner, but we can see the before and the after of the remove tool that we've been able to use. So that's going to be one thing that that's probably the top thing that I'm most excited to speak with you guys about today.
Yeah, it's
Now,
pretty clean. Pretty clean.
yeah, definitely. The other thing that I wanted to kind of just point out is if you wanted to change any of these, they are easily editable and changeable. So this one we use generative fill, right? We use generative fill to get rid of that. I'm just using the backslash button to show you the before. There was like a little bit of the earring showing right over there. So we have this area here. We can click on it and you can right click onto this little area here and you can choose and say, you know what, I didn't want to use generative fill there. I wanted to use heal instead. And then what it'll do is it'll allow you to completely switch the tool after you've already done the work.
That's pretty wild. Yeah.
And the same thing is over here, right? So the fill is going to usually say generative. Let me find another one here. Let's do this one. It says the fill version or the tool that was used to fill this area was generative remove. But let's say I wanted to change this to clone. And now clone's not going to do as good of a job. So I don't necessarily know why you would want to necessarily do that. But I'm just telling you that option is there. But let's go back to generative remove, because obviously 9 times out of 10, you're just going to keep it on generative remove. Unless you're doing high volume and you're like trying to, I don't know, you're trying to kind of like protect your generative remove credits, which I actually need to figure out if generative remove credits are a thing in Lightroom. When it comes to Photoshop, I know that the generative remove credits that you have are at a higher speed. You have a certain number, depending on your plan, of generative remove credits. For Photoshop, we were talking about, this is not Lightroom, Photoshop. And then once you hit that number of generative remove credits, the tool still works. It's just going to work a little bit slower.
Sure.
So that's kind of, I just want to make sure, clear the air there. But when it comes to Lightroom, that is something that I need to look up. So I'll look that up and I'll let you guys know about that as well. So that's just a little bit about the new remove tool. It is amazing. I hope you guys feel like it is just as amazing as I think that it is.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And yeah, any questions on generative remove or any questions? I mean, I'm here to answer whatever it is y'all are dealing with. And if I think that it's something that's just a little bit off.
So I had 2 questions, just one's directly related, one's kind of in the realms of Lightroom.
Sure.
But the first one was, the way that like you can now go to Photoshop and there's that whole generate image, so it's not just like generative remove type of stuff or expand, but you can literally select a new document and then the same kind of panel as Firefly comes up. You can generate a whole image. Do you think Lightroom will do that someday? Like, do you think you'll be able to select an area behind her and say tree, and it'll generate a tree in the landscape? Or do you think it'll always be more kind of like edited, generative AI editing focused?
Yeah, I think that they're going to stick with the remove features in Lightroom, because Lightroom is really for photographers. It's not necessarily for you and I, Andrew, when it comes to composites and multi-layers and things like that. So I think that they're probably going to keep that within the Photoshop. This is just my guess.
Sure.
I don't have any knowledge on the issue, but I would say that they're going to make Lightroom and Lightroom Classic stick with their photography-based tools. So removal, but not necessarily addition, not adding in different things that you could,
Right.
like you can, with generate image and.
Cool. And I like both anyways. I like Lightroom and Photoshop, so I jump back and forth.
Although that's a really good
Suggestion.
that's a really good sequitur. Is that a word? Sequitur? I know
I'm not sure myself. We're visual artists here, right?
Yeah, I'm not
a writer. I'm not
but when so at the end of this, I'm going to show you some of my presets that I've just come out with, and they are a little bit of adding something that like special effects that you wouldn't necessarily be able to add in Lightroom. So we're going to come back to that, Andrew.
Cool.
Was there another question?
Yeah, and then
segue. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, Mika says segue. And then just a general question, just opinion question is, do you ever use the other Lightroom besides Classic?
So Lightroom desktop, yeah, they are making some huge advancements in desktop. And 99% of what you do in Classic, you can do in desktop as well. So, and it's a much, much cleaner operating system behind the hood, or under the hood, if you will. And I know that it is very similar to Adobe Camera Raw. So a lot of the things that you can do in everything you can do in Adobe Camera Raw, you can also do in Lightroom as well. So
yeah, it reminds me of Adobe Bridge. So I tend to use it to just kind of quickly go and look at my work. And then if I want to like do the editing itself, then I'll use Lightroom Classic. So for just kind of reviewing, looking at my work, I'll go to the Lightroom desktop. And then I think it was Brian Matias. He did a live with me, and he said it reminded him of Adobe Bridge. And then he showed it during the live, and I was like, oh, I might as well download that too. So now I kind of enjoy it for what I like to use it for.
Yeah, well, now that they have that whole new feature of being able to preview any image that's on your device, on your computer or on your phone, right? That was a game changer for Lightroom, for the Lightroom ecosystem. And the really nice thing about using that like a Lightroom ecosystem is that any changes that you make to an image that's on your computer, you can actually find that same image on your phone if it is uploaded to the cloud. And then you have access to it on mobile as well.
Great. Cool.
So very cool. Okay, so the next thing that I kind of want to talk about is lens blur, because it's had a lot of increased functionality thanks to AI. So we're going to go ahead and just hit this apply button. So this is lens blur. We are in the develop module. You have to scroll down a little bit to get it. And what we can do is, I'm just for demonstration's sake, I'm just going to take this blur amount and I'm just going to take it all the way to 100 and just max it out. But you can see here that it did a really good job of masking the hair and masking the subject. And then we have our foreground that is in focus here. And then we have the option for different types of bokeh. So I don't know what each one of these are called. It's circle. Let's see, what's this one? Bubble. This one is 5-blade, commonly seen in vintage lenses. It gives you little tips about each one of these different bokeh types. Ring, like a donut, and then oval, anamorphic. Okay. Commonly seen in film making. Okay. So we have this option to just totally blend or blur out the background. And the way that this specific tool, is using the AI is to find that subject and actually create a depth map of your image. And then it's going to allow you to keep the subject in focus while the background goes out of focus. Now, this is if you choose to have this set on subject mode. You also have this like little like spot mode, point focus area mode. So if you click over onto that, and let's say we click on this back field back here, you can see that the focus area has adjusted and changed depending on the area that we click, that we deem we want to be in focus. So I'm going to change this over from circle to the regular blur, and you can see that the mask, that lips mask is not getting the blurring effect. That's kind of a little bit crazy. You see the lips there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Interesting.
It's kind of cool art though, right?
Right. Okay, so I'm going to go back to subject mode, or subject blur mode, and that's going to activate the subject to be in focus and everything else to be blurred in the background, thanks to the depth mask that was created by using AI. But if we come down here to this visualize depth option here, what it does is it kind of plots the range of the depths of the items in your image on a bar. And so it goes from near to far. So the near stuff is yellow and the far stuff is dark purple to black. So having this depth range and being able to visualize it, and then having these little this little box with the ears on the sides is going to allow you to kind of crunch down what's in focus and what isn't in focus. So you can see here that the white stuff is going to be in focus, but I'm totally just making this area of focus like super small, super skinny. And so as I pull this out, you can see more turns to white. If I pull this all the way out, the whole thing goes to white. So what's overlaid with white is going to be what you want to be in focus. Okay. So as I pull this back, we're getting the purples. Okay. We're getting the purples. We did all of this. I don't want in focus, right? I don't want any of that in focus. Okay. So here we're just pulling this up this way. And then from the near side, I'm going to pull this back until I start to get just a little bit of yellow showing up along the bottom area. And so that gives me the super shallow depth of field that I would like to have. And then if I click off of visualize depth, you can see that now our depth is super, super, super shallow. If I click this on and off, you can see the difference that was applied. And then we do have this cat eye and this boost. Cat eye, from what I can say, is just like going to be an interpolation thing. And it just kind of changes the form of what that blurry area looks like. I haven't quite figured that one out, I'm going to be honest. But the boost is if there are any specular highlights that are in your background, in your blurry area, by increasing the boost, what that's going to do is it's going to make those specular highlights just pop and be just even more round bokeh for your image. So that's kind of helpful as well. And then it gets better. I know, crazy, but it does get better. So we have these refinement area. We have this refinement area down here at the bottom so that you're not just stuck, right, with whatever the subject is or whatever the point of focus is. You also have the option to add a brush to increase the area of focus or increase the area of blur. So we can use a blur brush or we can use a focus brush. All right. So I'm going to choose the blur brush and I'm going to choose, you know, a big amount, and we'll just decrease the flow to about 50%. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just paint along the bottom here in that foreground area, that area that I know would not technically be in focus. And that allows me to kind of add just a little bit more of that blur or that bokeh look to that area there. Okay. And you can do the same with the focus brush. So if we increase the focus brush and we had an area that we wanted to increase the focus on, we could do that as well. Now, I'm not going to do that because that's blurring. It's blurring out the field way behind her dress, and I don't necessarily want to do that. But what I
Right.
will say is that you do have the option in here if you're trying to do like a dress or you're trying to paint along an edge or something like that, there is the option for auto mask for this, for either the blur or the brush, or for either the blur brush or the focus brush. That is going to work as well. So that's just a very handy tool too. And your before and your after, I mean, it completely changes the entire look and feel of the image, you know? So this is something that's really helpful. You don't have to go into Photoshop. You don't have to create multiple layers. You don't have to, this took so many steps before Lightroom did this
Right.
in Photoshop. It was crazy. I mean, you would go in, you would duplicate your background. You would then select your subject and you would content aware fill that subject out of your layer. And then you'd have to go in and create a very detailed select subject mask on another layer. And then you'd have to copy that subject and place them on the top of the layer that is the background that you've removed the subject from. And then you'd have to blur the layer of the background. I mean, and now we just have a click slider.
Right. They're spoiling us.
Right? They're making us lazy, but I love it because
So
I love
Mika says, "Wow."
Yeah, I totally agree. Couldn't have put it better myself.
Cool.
It's very well. Oh, he says something anamorphic maybe gives you long horizontal flares. Maybe, yeah,
that was earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So those are going to be the three top areas that are where AI is really being integrated into these tools, and it's helping us tremendously. And I think that you guys can see that from all of the kind of tips and tricks that I've been kind of showing off today.
Sure.
So, and if there are any other questions, if not, I can go ahead and talk about some of my presets.
Sure. Did you want to first talk about the free download?
Yes. So I'm going to give away the free downloads, but let me explain kind of what they are, the presets are. So, we've been talking about AI and how revolutionary all of this stuff is. And, but I don't want people to forget about the other tools. Like, AI is, the sexy buzzword and that kind of thing, but there are so many other things that we can do just using regular tools that I don't necessarily think that people are forgetting about it, I guess, is kind of what I'm thinking. And so what I've done is I created a mega pack of 4 different preset special effects type presets where you just basically roll your mouse over these things and you're going to get any type of look that you want. And they're realistic and they look super, super cool. This is like a cool bokeh one that's dispersed. And then all of these can be used with some of those AI features. So for example, if we've got some flare here. Let's do the flare large. Let's do this one. So flare large 2, because this is one of the ones that I'm giving away for free. We have this, which looks like lens flare, or, just add some special effects to your images. So that I'll just click with one click. And then I can come over into my masking section and you can see the masks that were created thanks to this preset. So if I wanted to, I could go ahead and kind of move any of these over and kind of just relocate those. Click on that, relocate that one over here as well. And you have all these like kind of cool bokeh looking effects, and you can relocate them to anywhere that you would like in the image. But if, let's say, you wanted to keep one of these kind of like a little bit over the subject, maybe you wanted to keep it there. Let's take this element and put it there as well. What you can do in this scenario would be to subtract. If I click on any of these masks, you can see it started with I created them using a lot of radial gradients. So these are like the OG masking tools, right? We don't need, you don't necessarily need all of these new smart tools to create really awesome looks. The point that I'm trying to get for people to understand is that the other tools as well can create fantastical effects and results. It's not just the AI tools that you can use. Anyway, you could take this and you could say subtract select subject from it. And then all of a sudden you have that effect removed from the subject, right? Because we have our bokeh that we're creating and then we're subtracting that subject from this circle. And you can see how that circle now looks like it's behind her, right? So we could do the same for, let's see, this one here. We could subtract select subject from that one as well. And then you can kind of move this around and relocate this to anywhere where you would want to, not that one. I'm going to relocate this one to wherever you would want to kind of have that kind of show up. Okay. So that's the way we can integrate the older tools with the newer tools. And then here's our before and our after. You can see how you're able to just create something that really stops you in your tracks, and you don't have to go to Photoshop for this, right? That's the thing that is really exciting for these options that you have. So I'm going to just reset these masks real quick and come down here. I think the other one that I gave you is the rainbow. I think I'm also giving you guys one of the rainbow crescents as well in the free set. And then I know that I'm giving you guys the hexagonal. So let me find I think one of these hexagons. There are a couple of these presets that take like a really long time to load, and that's because there are literally so many brush strokes in it. So this is one of the ones that I'm going to be giving you guys. And if we look at each one of these masks, you can see I tried to create the hexagonal shape, and I used a linear gradient, and then I subtracted a sharper edged linear gradient, and then I subtracted another sharper edge. I subtracted another sharper edge, sharper edge, sharper edge to create that hexagonal shape. And then I made a bunch of adjustments in color and contrast and everything like that down here in the adjustments to kind of create this flare, if you will, in the middle. And I have one for the outside, and then I have one for the internal portions as well. So that's how those hexagonal flares were made. And that's also one that you can download. The other thing is that I don't know, but in Photoshop, you don't get to just like do one click and create images like this or create effects like this, at least. So that's another thing that's pretty cool. I'm just going to try and I'm going to remove
a couple questions though.
Mm-hmm.
First is for the free download, and I'm just letting people know that it's at sharkpixel.com/9.
Yes.
How many presets do you get for the free download?
So I gave you my top 3.
Top 3, great. And then for the preset bundle, which you can go to and get that at sharkpixel.com/dramatic-presets.
Yes.
How many total presets are part of that bundle?
I will tell you in 1 minute. It's over 100.
Nice.
I think it's 170, and they're both for Photoshop and they are for Lightroom and Adobe Camera Raw. Before I show you the page, though, I want to show you one of the ones that took a really long time to create, because I think it's crazy to just look at the way that it was created, and I want to deconstruct it with you guys. So this is the ring flare, small warm. So this XMP, usually XMPs size-wise are about a couple kilobytes in size. And this one is 20 megabytes. So this is why we have the spinning beach ball of death. There's a couple of these ring flares that are in this set. But I wanted to include them, but they are a bit glitchy because it is so big. The preset is so stinking big. All right. Let me just try and get this to load real quick. Okay, we're going to click on it. Yeah, so definitely go and download the free presets that anybody can download and install, because I want you guys to use it. And I want you guys to have fun and deconstruct them and think about how, think about how they're created. And I think once you kind of deconstruct them a little bit yourself, you're going to start to realize, oh, I could make that, or something like that. And if you want to make that, please, by all means, I want you to take the kind of the outlines that I do, and I want you guys to create your own techniques and tries as well. I have a feeling that this is, okay, did this work? Oh, thank goodness. Okay. The reason why this just loaded forever and took forever to load is because if you look here, those are all brush strokes. Okay. Coming from a central location. And then what I did was I subtracted, using a radial gradient, everything but this little edge. And there's two of them now because I clicked it twice. And then I removed the outer edge as well. Well, I did an intersect to get rid of it on the outer edge. So what you're left with is this really beautiful ring type flare, nice, which can come up. But as we saw, because this preset is really large, 20 megabytes, I actually sent this to Brian Matiash and he was like, holy moly. He said, why is it 20 megabytes? These things are only supposed to support, like up to 1 megabyte in size for these preset files. And I was like, well, I like to push programs to the limit until they break. So yeah, it's just a little bit about it. But I'll show you the page if you're interested in getting the whole set. Dun, da, 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 and here it is. Again, sharkpixel.com/dramatic-presets. And it is a whopping $27 if you want to get all of these presets. And I need to get you, I'm pretty sure it's like 170 different presets in the thing. Bokeh, cinematic and effects. We have lens flares, light leaks, and I have an installation guide, and I'm currently editing videos. You can see this is one of the ones that's included in your freebie pack. This rainbow crescent. That's one of the ones that I gave you guys free today as well. But again, one click, all of the masks show up for you, and then you can just click and drag them around wherever you want. Endless creations, endless opportunities, creating unique looks with one click. And yeah, it's just a little bit about the product and that kind of thing.
Nice.
Yeah. So you have the link going on somewhere.
Yeah. It's spiraling through, zooming through for everybody.
Well, unless there are any other questions.
Yeah.
So, answer any questions that there are.
No, I think just people are taking it in. So I'll go over those links again and then talk about your social links as well. So yeah, so once again, free download is at sharkpixel.com/9. The preset bundle, as you can see here, is sharkpixel.com/dramatic-presets. And a great price for all that, like 170 presets or more. And then you can find Kristina on Facebook at facebook.com/sharkpixel, and Instagram shark_pixel, and then TikTok at shark_pixel, and youtube.com sharkpixel. Well, how did you come up with the Shark Pixel name?
So my last name is Sherk, and I wanted to not be Shrek Pixel, so I just figured it would be nice to have a reminder to be a little bit more shark-like in business.
Nice.
So we just went with Shark Pixel. I also love the water. Learned to swim before I could walk, so it's
cool.
Yeah,
I think you've posted some really nice like underwater and water shoots too, right? So
yeah, I do underwater photography as well. So
cool. And then I was just going to remind everyone that you enjoy these live events. Make sure to subscribe for more Photoshop and Lightroom or AI art and digital art focused live streams and tutorials on my YouTube at youtube.com/DrewCav. That's youtube.com/DrewCav. Or you could search for Drew Cav on YouTube. And then you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Andrew.Kavanagh. And follow my digital artist Drew Cav page on Facebook, facebook.com/digital artist Drew. And most likely you heard of this event on my Photoshop and Lightroom group on Facebook. If you are just finding this on YouTube and haven't joined, please come join the Photoshop and Lightroom group, facebook.com/groups, the Photoshop and Lightroom group, just past 390,000 members. So it's a different iteration of that group. And then I also just wanted to give a quick shout out that I think it's been out for a little bit now, but somewhat new is the new BenQ PD3225 5U monitors here. Elevate your creative workflow with stunning color, accuracy, and precision. Say hello to your Mac's best friend. I can also post that link on the page and on the YouTube, and just so you can see.
Great monitors.
Yeah, some of the features here: deeper blacks, color tonal control for Mac devices, Thunderbolt 3, display P3, and MBook mode. So yeah, BenQ, quite wonderful monitors. Yeah, 32-inch Thunderbolt monitor. Yeah.
I'm looking at one right now.
Yeah, nice. So yeah, thank you so much, Kristina. It was great. And just a reminder, I will be posting the link to recording at the top of the groups. And do check out, when you go to YouTube, check out all the links I will list underneath. So do come and follow Kristina on all the social networks. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for attending.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was quite good. Let's see some last comments. Vladimir says excellent, and also Mika says those monitors are awesome. Yeah, so I think he won one in the group for a contest. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, cool. All right, thanks everybody. See you on Facebook, YouTube, all the social networks. Thanks everyone.